everybody, welcome back once again to the Retro Game Fix Retro Jones podcast number 114. This is your host, Mitch.
And this is Mike.
And here we are once again. Now we've got our consistency level to 2. So, that's all good. What's going on, Mike?
2 is my favorite number.
Number 2?
Yep.
I can't think of any other things. I can't think of anything other things that start with 2.
No, that's it. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. What's going on? Not much going on over here. I kept up. I don't know if I mentioned it to you, but how my neighbors are. I'm trying to keep up with the Joneses in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So I bought a new riding lawnmower.
That's right. You sent me a picture of that.
Yeah.
I forgot to respond.
Yeah, I went and did that on Saturday. And then, you know me, so I didn't get the best riding lawnmower. I got the most basic kind of riding lawnmower, but it's still really nice. But then,
that doesn't sound like something you would do.
And then I got home with it, and I was like, fuck, I should have bought the better one for an extra $300. And then I didn't. Then that's way too big for me to go exchange. But anyway.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, you just ride that thing right back to the store.
So anyway, I mowed with it on Sunday, because last summer I had the push, and ironically, I have, so on my side of the street I have kind of a bigger yard, where everyone else has these smaller yards, but they have these fucking mowers that you can stand on, and then the ones you sit on and do the zero turn, and these people are flinging around their yards in 5 seconds their yard is done, and then I'm the asshole that's only mowing once a week, and they're doing it 2 times, 3 times a week, keeping it all nice golf course. And so anyway, finally I'm I'll get a rider, so I want to mow it. And now I got this paranoia that they're oh, the fuck, because everyone's a little older than me, that everyone's oh, now he's got a riding lawnmower now, and they're judging how my technique on using the rider.
Yeah.
So I had that paranoia going on, and then we cleaned up the yard and shit like that, and I was fucking A.
Yeah, doing yard work sucks. I'll have to say that I got out my lawnmower because this is the first time I really actually needed to mow my front yard. I already mowed my backyard because that's usually a disaster.
My backyard is disastrous. It's so
hairy.
It's
where people can't see it, so I just don't really care most of the time. But I did. I went to mow my front yard this week, and I'll tell you, if I got one of those 0-point turn mowers or even a riding mower, 2 seconds I'd be dead, because I've just got hills all over my yard. There's nothing flat in my yard. I would just roll the thing instantly. So I've got a push mower. Because really that's and plus I've got 7 blades of grass because I've got so much shade in my yard.
So trees and shit. Is Atlanta? Atlanta's got a lot of trees, man.
There are a lot of trees in Atlanta. So
Georgia,
I've got
I guess.
Well, I've got 24 of those humongous pine trees that are hundreds and hundreds of feet tall in my yard, which really sucks because I'm well, every time it rains, my dog always lays by the door and he's shaking. I'm that's become me recently, until we just remove this one huge tree. I'm oh my God, one of these days it's gonna sprinkle out, and then one of these damn things is just gonna fall in my house.
Did you get that tree removed for the $600?
Yeah, it was ridiculous. This is the biggest tree
I could not believe it when you said it was gonna be $600. I was there's no way. That's awesome.
I know, because I tried to take a picture of it, and I couldn't even get it framed in the picture. It was such a huge tree. So anyway, but I got it. So anyway, back to my lawnmower. So I bought the crappiest one last year because I needed to replace my lawnmower, and I was I don't really want to spend much money on a lawnmower because I have 7 blades of grass. So I went to start it up, and I pulled it a couple times, and then the rope broke. And I'm you got to be effing kidding me. So I called, it's been way less than a year, so I called, the technical support and whatever, and they're well, it doesn't cover wear things or whatever. So I don't know anything about lawnmowers for the most part, but this turned out to be pretty easy to fix. I fixed it in 10 minutes, but, stupid lawnmowers. I hate them. I don't even know how we got on the lawnmower topic, but...
I was just filling you in on my weekend a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, yeah,
When you were talking about front yard and backyard, I was thinking about your pubes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right. That makes more sense.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah. So last week we've just been really. I think for the next couple weeks, for me at least, I've got so many freaking stories as to what has been going on recently that I'll probably just tell some tales as far as that goes. I know you've got a lot
Some
of
tales of the Caribbean night.
Yeah, Tales of the Caribbean Nights.
I'm just messing with you.
Tales of the Australian Nights, or something. I guess that works too.
Tales of the Las Vegas nights.
Yeah, that sounds tantalizing or something. So anyway, I know you got some gripes about some stuff too. So where do you want to start?
Yeah, we can start there. I think maybe just get the Wii U stuff out of the way. I don't think it's going to take a ton of time, but last time we left off, the Switch had just come out. The last time we left off, and I love the Switch, and we had talked about Zelda. For a couple episodes, and I really, really like Zelda, but then I think we stopped before I started really disliking Zelda. Mm-hmm. And so, long story short, critically acclaimed. I get why everybody loves it, but I had a couple takes, and I'm not going to rehash all of my Zelda takes here because I went off on Twitter plenty of times about it, but, it was proclaimed as a really great game, yada, 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 fantastic, and I kind of just got bored of it, didn't want to finish it, it didn't hit the notes that I really kind of maybe was looking for. Maybe that's not any fault of Nintendo's, but look, I played it for 40 hours, really liked it, went back to it multiple times, yada, yada, yada. Anyway, Zelda drops on Switch, and then Zelda also dropped on Wii U. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of went okay, that's nice that they actually finally released it on the Wii U. But let's see what's coming up next. And then they started dropping more Wii U games, and it was Mario Kart. And I love Mario Kart, but I played tons of Mario Kart on Wii U. And then they dropped Mario Odyssey, which was fine. I really enjoyed Mario Odyssey. But then it was port after port after port after port of Wii U games.
Didn't they come out with Splatoon 2 as well? Yeah,
but that was kind of like Splatoon 1. But Splatoon 2 was awesome, and I'll stand by that, because, sequels, where do you draw the line on, a multiplayer sequel? It's, they're kind of hey, we're just going to iterate a little bit and put a number 2 on it, which Splatoon 2 was awesome, but they removed local multiplayer, which pissed off a few people. But nevertheless, I have not barely played it. And now, I love my Switch, but what I'm going at is not Switch related. What I'm getting at is for 3.5 or 4 years, the Wii U was out. And everybody was saying how shitty. The Wii U doesn't have any games. The Wii U is shitty. The Wii U has nothing to play. When it really turns out that people just didn't want a Wii U because it looked kind of childish and all this other, and oh my god, the name Wii U, and we discussed before, the marketing was bad. But now all of a sudden people love all the Wii U games now that they're on the Switch. And I'm sitting here thinking, as gamers, don't we always talk about it's all about the games? And if the games are good, does it really matter what the gimmick is? Because the Nintendo gimmick is always in the way. You just kind of go, well, that's the gimmick, but are the games good? Yeah, I'm going to buy the system. Yeah. And B, the games didn't review very well because people couldn't get over the Wii U. They don't use the second screen, or the Wii U shitty, and again and again and again. And I'm why couldn't the games be reviewed on their own merits? Because now that Donkey Kong's coming out on the Switch, all of these other games that are being re-released, everyone's these are awesome games, oh my god, but I would have never bought the Wii U. And I'm just going why wouldn't you buy the Wii U if it had games on it that you wanted to play?
Well, I think it's just lack of people's awareness of the system in general. It was probably I was about to say, one of the most incognito releases of all time, but that's not true. I can think of probably 3 other systems that would fit the bill on that. But of modern times, at least, I again, with the confusion, Wii U, I thought for at least the first year that it was out, and I'm a gamer, that it was an expansion kit for the Wii. I was well, that's dumb.
I get that. I mean, I get that part of it. I guess when
eventually people figured it out, obviously, that it was an actual system, but
So I get the mass appeal, but we're talking about Nintendo fans, and I'm one of them. As Nintendo fans, we will throw money at anything that says Nintendo, regardless. But for some reason, Like, I guess my biggest frustration is on the Switch. I finally put a line in the sand and said I'm not giving them another $60 for games I already bought at $60 less than 2 years ago or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And so, does Johnny want to jump on the podcast?
Johnny just ran on here. Here, what do you want to say, buddy? Let's take just a commercial break here.
Where does it come from?
It's a microphone, buddy. You want to say hi, Mike?
Hi, Mike.
What's up, player?
Can you say, welcome to the Retro Game Fix podcast?
Welcome to the
Retro Game Fix podcast?
Podcast.
Number 114?
Number 114.
With your hosts? Mitch?
Yeah.
He did it better than Billy Mitchell.
Did it better than I did it.
Let's read your book.
Okay, all right. Well, that's a special guest there. He just flew in the door and slammed the door, and I'm texting Jackie. I'm like, "Can you get Johnny?"
Special appearance by Johnny. No, but I'm just saying, my biggest thing is everything Nintendo releases as Nintendo fans, we always throw money at it blindly. Yeah. But the Wii U didn't get that same courtesy, and for reasons I can technically understand. But for people in the know, it was just shitting on it. And then they re-release all the games, and I just finally went, I'm not spending $60 a pop, especially when industry standard is that when games are ported over from the previous hardware, they always come in at a discount. Always. If it's PS3 to PS4, if it's Xbox 360 to Xbox One, they always come in at a discount, and they come in with fanfare to say, hey, we maybe don't have all of our exclusive games ready, but we're going to give you things to play. They're old, but we're going to do it at a discount. Not Nintendo. And it pisses me off 2 reasons. Because people shit all over the Wii U because of marketing reasons without actually acknowledging that the games were good. And then Nintendo, smart, it's smart business because they know Nintendo fans, again, I'm included, will just aimlessly throw $60 at the wall and rebuy the games. And I'm like, nah, I can't do it again. If I would have probably bought all, I named 10 games on Twitter the other day that I would have repurchased at $39.99, and they all came out at $60, and instead, on principle, I didn't buy one of them.
I get it, but I don't even know if I'm playing devil's advocate here or anything, but it was just kind of a rare hit for Nintendo. The system was there, the games were there, quality was there, but I think it seemed with the PlayStation and Xbox, there was such an arms race for technology. Even though, we could rehash the whole PC thing or whatever, but that's not what I'm talking about.
No, I got it.
As far as consoles go, people were so focused on what's the better system, what has more power. Wii U wasn't really, it wasn't a console known for power. It was known for and we hashed that out. Shoot, in 114 episodes, we've hashed that out in a lot of them as far as what it was. And it was a good system. I agree with you. I totally agree with you. But it was a rare dip where I don't even know. Yeah, marketing was bad, sure, but
the Switch isn't a powerful system either, and arguably,
no.
I mean, you know what I'm saying.
People are over it. I feel like people are over it at this point. And Nintendo's okay, well, we can, Nintendo's shrewd. There's no way around it. Of course they are. They always have been, and they always will be. You know what happened. We've talked about what happened in the '80s with Nintendo, and just how big of bastards they were. They are Sega,
Well, not only that, but not only the Sega, and I want to ask you this because I'm closer probably to some of this modern stuff as far as
you definitely are. There's no doubt
people's feelings about corporations.
No doubt.
And so let me ask you this: every year, worst corporations and there's votes and things that happen every year about the worst companies and corporations in America. And every year, EA is on that list, Activision's on that list, because there's gamers that are all they care about is the bottom line. They don't care about the gamers, blah, 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 blah. They're horseshit companies, only worried about making money. And I'm like, yeah, you just described Nintendo to a fucking T. But Nintendo gets a pass. Nintendo always gets a pass. And they've been... And again, I love Nintendo, but I just, it just seems a little bit hypocritical that people go, it just seems blind. Like other than the Wii U, it just seems like there's a lot of blind love there without without
totally.
throwing the
You're right.
without throwing the same criticisms. And I also see that in
You're
reviews.
Totally right.
And people will argue this to me all the time, but I say it all the time with the game reviews. Nintendo was held to a lower standard for video game reviews than other platforms. And if you sit there and say other game reviews are held to the story wasn't quite there, or the music, or the this, or the that, and games are reviewed as a critic, almost, on other platforms. But on Nintendo, games are reviewed as fans, and as fanboys and fangirls, or however you want to put it, and they always get a pass, and they're not held to the same level of criticism as other video games, and that's proven, I think, by the fact that it's like, it's okay to have a critical view of Nintendo and still say, but I fucking love them. And that's where I come from. Is I'm like, I want to still be able to have like a critical, honest adult conversation. And it sounds funny coming from me, as petty as I can be at times, but like I still want to be able to have that conversation without being like deemed a troll, which in fairness I probably earned, but I mean without making it it's
totally a troll.
Without it making it like clickbait though. Like I'm serious about that I feel like they get the ultimate pass on so many levels when they're just as big, if not the king of being an asshole corporation. But they
totally are.
But we give them a pass because we love Mario and Zelda and Donkey Kong, and I do. They're amazing characters. But let's not sit here and act like they're not just out there to make money where they're sitting there flipping $60 ports at us.
Yeah. I think no, you're totally right about. I know you're totally right about everything. Nintendo are like the darlings of the video game community. Again, they took a little bit of a dip in their history, but I think at this point we can say they're back to Nintendo. They've gotten back to the point where everybody's like, Nintendo, they can do no wrong, and in reality, like behind the scenes, of course they're bastards. They always have. They've been shrewd businessmen, and that's always what they've done. And in the $60 ports, they're just basically trying to say, well, we know they're good games, and you know what, you guys didn't buy them for the Wii U, so fuck you. They're going to be $60.
Well, and we know you're going to buy them this time. And I want to be clear. I don't have a problem with that either. But what I'm saying is, I just feel like, let's call it, like, people need to be willing to call a spade here a little bit and say, yeah, they're assholes, but we love them. And, that's just kind of where my biggest gripe comes from. I'm not here to I guess I'm not here to even say this is how people should feel or this is where people should spend their money. People can feel and spend their money however they want to. I certainly really don't care. But it just got to the point for me where I said
it'd be nice to have those ports for like a reasonable price, like especially if like they were like, okay, well you bought it on Wii U or whatever, here you can have it for $30 or whatever, Well,
and they went as far. So Donkey Kong was the latest one. They re-released it for $60 on the Switch storefront, and they delisted it from the Wii U storefront because it was only $20 on the Wii U.
Oh, that's dumb. Yeah, I mean that's dumb.
But it's horseshit. But again, and I'm the only one sitting here trying to say this stuff, and everyone's acting like I'm the contrarian. And I'm like, I don't think everybody's listening here. I love Nintendo still. I bought every fucking Nintendo published Wii U game, and maybe some of it is sour grapes because I feel a little slighted, but not that Nintendo should really care. But
you're like the guy saying, "I told you so. I told you so."
There's also that.
We have proof. Lots of podcasts.
And I'm just, I kept trying to be in Nintendo's corner to say, guys, get over the fact that you don't like the gamepad or you think the gamepad should be used more. I mean, quite honestly, I don't ever take my Switch out of the house, but I play it in bed. Guess what? I never took my Wii U out of the house, but I could still play it in bed. Like, the things that people are using their Switch for, if you don't leave the house with it, are things you could totally do with the Wii U. It had some...
You never take it on planes? You never take your Switch on planes?
Oh, I could. Well, can it go on planes?
No, I'm just kidding. Wasn't there like some debate
it was Mario
about for like a year ago?
Yeah, it was. Well, it was the Mario was always connected to the internet thing, and people kept going. Right. What if I'm on a plane?
What if I'm in the desert?
And then the size of the AC adapter. But anyway, I have brought my Switch on multiple planes actually in the last year. But that's just kind of where my thing is. I just don't know. I wanted to complain.
I get it. And for you, it's probably like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just generalizing here, but just assuming. But Nintendo had kind of a down year, and you stood up for them. And then when they kind of got back on their feet, they were like back to corporate greedy assholes, and that you feel slighted by that.
Yeah, and maybe slighted's not. I don't know if that's even the right.
Not slighted. Not slighted.
That's probably not the real term because, like, I don't.
That's not the word I was going to spout out before the dumb cat came in.
No,
here.
I feel you. I mean, I know where you're going with that. It's just more like if there's ever proof that they don't really actually give a shit, like that's the stuff. Like there's never fanfare where they throw people a bone. They've recharged us year after year after year for games we've already bought year after year after year. They charge full price for stuff. Nothing ever goes on sale, and we happily pay it, and that's how they keep the value of their brand up. I understand all of it, but these are practices other publishers and other game companies get torched over, just ripped over the coals. And Nintendo, everybody comes to their kind of side and says, well, they need to make money. And I'm like, yeah,
they do now.
No
they do
shit.
now, but where were those people last generation?
That's what I'm saying. Like, where were the Nintendo apologists last generation when there were like 8 of us that loved the Wii U?
Yeah, well, Nintendo, like I said, just went through a down year. And, I mean, down,
3
time
or 4
period.
years, yeah.
Yeah, I get it. And, yeah, I get it. It makes sense when you frame it like that,
But it is what it is. I just wanted to get that off my chest because I still love Nintendo, people. It's not that. I just
you know what you need to do? You need to start reviewing games, and you'll be like the most hated man in game reviews, but you also might be one of the most like trusted, eventually.
Maybe.
I mean, maybe not. Maybe I'd probably go with the most hated.
Yeah, but, well, the thing is, and I've said this about video games, and I don't want to take up too much more time on it, but like Rotten Tomatoes, did we hit on this? I know I talked about it with Kazum and Tony, but
I don't know.
Rotten Tomatoes does favorable and non-favorable reviews, right? So like a review can still come in and technically be like a 7 out of 10, but it's still a tomato. So when you go to Rotten Tomatoes and you see something is like 95%, it just means it got 95% positive reviews. But within those positive reviews, there's probably a lot of good conversation of people thought it was good, people that thought it was great, people thought it was the best movie of all time. With video game reviews, there's barely any deviation from the mean. And I don't know how this is possible. Because when you see a video game review, like God of War, for example, critically, 9.5, like 37 10s out of 100 reviews, and there was only like 7 that scored it below a 9.4, right? I played the game. I thought it was a great game. I didn't think it was a freaking 10. Same with Zelda. I didn't think it was a 10, and I'm going into this going like, how, and if you come out and say, hey, if I were to give it a score, I'd give it an 8. And people would be like, you're just a effing troll, you just want clicks, yada, yada, yada. And I'm going like, yo, I still think the game is great. What are you talking about? But I'm not willing to overlook some of the faults and some of the things that bothered me. And I think the reason that some of that is because there's like this, I don't know if it's groupthink, but... Oh,
yeah, there's plenty of it. I'm going to tie into that myself.
Oh, okay. Because it just drives me. Yeah, it drives me nuts. And then so to prove my point is GameSpot reviewed Donkey Kong Country on the Wii U.
Yeah.
Gave it a 6. Came out on the Switch, they gave it a 9.
Right.
Now, the difference being, obviously, 2 different people reviewed the game. Right? I get it. 2 different people review it, 2 different opinions. But what I'm saying is, that's how people can totally game reviews. By going, we know this person's going to love the game, so they're going to review it. And I've yet to find a single reviewer that seems to align with me on the stances that I take when I'm looking at a game. And actually saying, if you want to be a game critic, then be critical. But don't pick and choose when you want to be a fan and when you want to be a critic. I just feel like there's a general inconsistency there. And then, ironically, on the flip side, I think there is no inconsistency in game review scores in the fact that there's no real conversation or deviation from the mean ever. Everything seems to fall in line. Like, I could already tell you the Metacritic for Red Dead Redemption 2 coming up, the Metacritic's going to probably be a 93. I can tell you that. It doesn't even matter if the game is shitty because people are they're gonna be willing to ignore the faults. Like, there's just things that bother me about that, and I just, it's hard for me to even listen to some podcasts and read game reviews anymore because, ironically, it doesn't seem like as we've gotten older, I expected the industry to mature with us. And quite honestly, I don't think the gaming industry has matured because I quite honestly, I don't know if many of the adults that are holding those positions have matured with it. I mean, maybe I'm taking that a stretch too far and being too judgmental, but I don't know, man.
I get it. You should do like like every once in a while you should throw a review up on the podcast. I mean, that's the thing is the whole reason we started this entire thing is just we do what we want. It's not like we really have any agenda one way or the other. We just kind of do what we want. I think you should. Yeah. I mean, if that makes if you don't see any reviews out there that jive with you, I think you're
my own.
I think you're more than qualified to do your own. You know, you're especially with modern games and classic games as well. I mean, you've been there the whole time. You know, so.
Yeah, it's weird, and it's like it bothers me more when people continue to try to say I'm trolling in these cases. I'm like, I'm not trolling. I'm giving you my honest opinion. If I was trolling, you would know it. But when I go to bat for my opinion,
you definitely troll like a lot. But like, you know, if you're being genuine and honest, it's pretty obvious. You know.
Yeah, and it's like I'll support my opinions, and just it's like. And some people will come back and say, "Hey, well, who are you to tell these other people they're wrong?" And I'm like, well. I'm not, but every other review industry has matured in a way that it's easy to have differentiating opinions about stuff, like movies, for example. Marvel Infinity War, 90-something% on Rotten Tomatoes. But if you drill down into the reviews, there's plenty of 6s and 7s because people can actually have a fucking constructive conversation about the movie. But goddamn it, in video games, if you say one thing that doesn't fall in line with the Metacritic, man, the real internet trolls will come and get you. And it's like, fuck off.
Yeah.
Basically.
I understand.
Anyway.
I understand.
That's the end of my rant. I needed to get that out there.
I mean, you should do your own thing. Like, seriously, like, genuinely, I'm like, you know, you should do your own thing, and who gives a shit what other people think, you know? Like, it's your own review. If they don't like it, then they won't read your reviews, period.
Well, we certainly don't. It's funny, because I was listening to a couple podcasts where things popped up, and I'd always said the video game industry is a little incestuous, and you know, and everyone's like, if you need to get anywhere in this industry, you got to be nice to the people in the industry. And I'm like, oh, I get that from a networking standpoint. If you want to get somewhere professionally in this industry, you have to network. As far as this podcast goes, though, I just say I just say whatever the hell I want. I'm not sitting here worrying about befriending everybody, and that's not because I don't like people. It's just because, first and foremost, like I want to talk to you and have the podcast because I have opinions that I want to share, and I'm certainly not going to fall in line with the groupthink of the industry just to have the hottest take, you know?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Hot takes.
Hot takes.
It's like ESPN First Take every day across the internet when it comes to video games.
We should be the RetroGameFix.com Hot Takes podcast.
Shannon Sharp. Come on, Skip.
Come on, Skip.
Skip.
I love it. Skip.
Yeah,
anyway.
I feel better.
Yeah, well, good. I go with your bad self. We're not worried, obviously we're not worried about moving up within the industry or anything like that. We're just who we are. I feel
pretty good. I did that without cussing more than 5 times, I think.
Are you serious? I probably cursed more than you did the entire time.
I think I made it. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't feel like it added anything to the conversation, so I avoided the overbearing cussing.
Amazing. Well, I've got some stuff to talk about.
Let's roll.
And some of it might actually tie into what you're talking about, too. So yesterday, for Mother's Day, was yesterday? Yesterday was Mother's Day. My wife, being super cool, decided, hey, I want to go to Portal Pinball, which is I guess it's a new place let me back up real quick, okay? So a couple of years ago, a year and a half ago, Atlanta was a pinball desert, and Georgia has, there are no real operators around Georgia anymore because Georgia tax laws are kind of restrictive. They need to be updated, basically, according to some people or whatever. I'm not claiming to be an expert on that, but they're restrictive in the price. If you're operating a game and you have to pay $2,500 a year, supposedly. I don't know this for a fact. It might be more or less, but and X amount for each machine. That means that you've got to have somebody play the machine X amount of times before you even recoup the tax cost. So most people don't even bother.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Most people don't even bother in Georgia in general, and that's my understanding of it. I could totally be wrong. Somebody correct me if I am. That's fine. But anyway, within the last year and a half, it's gone from being, there was a place called Joystick, and I don't know. I hate to be shitting on anybody in the local market or anything like that, but they don't have anything to do with the local community. They don't really give a shit about gamers. They don't give a shit about the games and stuff like that. They give a shit about the bottom line. Basically, they came in on something trendy, and they have a couple games there, and then they sell alcohol and stuff. And they're like, we need to decorate it with like a 60s look or something like this. No. That doesn't have anything to do with gaming. Basically, I could go on and on about this. Yeah. It's kind of disgusting, but people like it, and good for them, whatever. But they have nothing to do with the community as far as like contributing to the community. And I don't know. I guess there's a little resentment, obviously, but within the last year and a half, at least. There's been one guy who goes by KG. It's not Kevin Garnett. I know what you're thinking. But anyways, he has started operating pinball machines. And fortunately for me, it's about 6 miles away at this place called My Parents' Basement. But he has like just he's got like 10 or 11 machines up there that, current. And it's awesome. I mean, it's $1 a player or whatever, but it's some place to go play pinball. And that's awesome. So that's new within the last couple of years.
So what's that place called?
It's called My Parents' Basement.
Okay, cool.
It's really like, comic booky and stuff. It's a pretty cool place. The food's pretty good too, as far as I can tell. So, but it's a cool location to go to if you're in the Atlanta area, and it's really been doing well. It's very successful, which is really cool. And my hat goes off to KG for taking the plunge and saying, you know what, there's nothing in Atlanta. Where Atlanta is a big city, there should be something. So I'm going to do something about it. Mm-hmm. So within the last year as well, this other place, Portal Pinball is open, which is cool. It's just like a plate, like you pay a flat rate to get around, the tax laws or whatever. You pay like a flat rate to go in, and everything's on free play, essentially. You can pay by the hour or you can pay by the day. But they have a lot of, I don't even know, maybe 20 to 30 machines. I'm not really sure. I didn't count. Somewhere in between there, though. And they have some really current stuff. So anyway, I hadn't checked it out because it's 42 miles away from where I live. I live on the other side of the suburbs from this particular place. Mm-hmm. So anyway, my wife, back to the start here. My wife was cool enough to be like, I really want to go play some pinball today. So I'm like, awesome. So we brought the family up there, her and my son, obviously, who made a guest appearance on the show today. And he loves playing pinball, and he's great. He's actually really, really good. And he's, almost 3. He's a couple months shy of 3 years old. But so we go up there and checked it out. And I'll say, if I'm a little tiny bit salty about one little thing, it's pretty expensive. Like if you get a day pass, it's like $15, which is fine. Because if I had all day to spend up there without a 2-year-old, I'd be all about it. I'd be up there more often. But, paying full price for my 2-year-old was kind of like, I don't love that. But then I think about it and I'm like, well, if I had a 2-year-old, most 2-year-olds would just come in there and like slap the flippers and stuff. And, you got to think that most kids don't know how to treat a pinball machine. So I was a little salty about that it cost me like $45 to go there yesterday. That's kind of a big drop of some change on, going to play some pinball. But I will say this, and that's, again, that's fine. That's just my own thing where I was just like, oh, man, that's a lot, But they had 3 games. There are 3 games that I really, really wanted to check out. And Total Nuclear Annihilation, which is by Spooky Pinball. I saw the Whitewood version of it, so the unfinished version of it last year at Southern Fried Game Room Expo, and it was just awesome. Like, the music is just killer. It's kind of like a retro look to it. There are no ramps. It's essentially like a old, like a early solid state Bally or something.
Which one was it again?
Total Nuclear Annihilation.
Okay.
It's awesome. So anyway, music is just killer, and the game is just fun. It's a lot of fun. So I had a lot of fun with the unfinished version of it. So I really wanted to actually get to play like a production model of it. Dialed In, which is Jersey Jack Pinball's like first original game by Pat Lawler, which I thought was super cool. I got to play that at the expo last year as well. And I really wanted to get some time to play it more. And also, the Stern just came out with Iron Maiden that everybody's just been going absolutely crazy about. So I wanted to get in and check that out and see what that was all about. So, and I will say this, from paying that money to get in, there was a good amount of people that came into Portal yesterday, but it wasn't like you didn't have to stand in line for machines. You could go play whatever you wanted for as long as you wanted, essentially, and nobody would care. So that was cool. That was totally worth it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I had to scratch that itch at least for all three of these machines. Total Nuclear Annihilation was awesome. It's so good, man. You have to watch videos of this. It's just like unbelievable. And I gotta say, 2 out of these 3, which are huge hits right now, 2 out of the 3 are huge hits. Like I'd probably say Dialed In is like not a huge hit, it's a moderate hit. But Iron Maiden right now, everybody's going crazy about. And Total Nuclear Annihilation, there's like a 6-month wait to get your machine. Like you can put $1,000 down, and then you gotta wait like 6 months because it's freaking awesome. But get this, out of the 2 of them were I guess independent developers, I guess you would call them. On Pinside, these were guys that just did projects. This guy, Scott Dennessy, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing his name right, but he's the guy that had actually developed Total Nuclear Annihilation on his own. He had, done the Whitewood, he'd done the design, everything, except for the artwork, the mechanics, the programming, all of that. The music, I think. He did the music as well. And it just totally developed this on his own. And everybody's like, oh, my God, that looks freaking amazing. And that's what I saw the Whitewood version of it last year at the expo. So Spooky Pinball decided to license it, basically, and produce it. So this guy, Scott Dennessy, hopefully I'm pronouncing it right, but he totally did this all on his own. And Spooky Pinball was like, we're going to produce that. And now Spooky Pinball is like, again, there's a 6-month wait for it. It's awesome. It's like one of the coolest things that have come out lately, right? So then the Iron Maiden one, Keith Elwin is another guy that independently made, originally it was an Archer pinball. And the shots are interesting, and like the layout of the playfield was really interesting, where people were going kind of nuts for him. So what did Stern do? They hired Keith Elwin to produce the Iron Maiden, to basically design Iron Maiden. It's essentially his Archer pinball with a few bells and whistles, but with the Iron Maiden theme. So it's cool that, my point being that 2 out of the 3 pinballs up there that I was really excited to see were originally made, independently. You know what I'm saying? They're not like
that's not like this big money,
Yeah, it's not like Steve Ritchie, Pat Lawler. It's not like the big, heavy hitters in pinball. It's like these, just these guys that were like, whatever. And it's fresh and it's awesome. Like I'll say this: Total Nuclear Annihilation was just fucking awesome. It was exactly how I thought it was, and it's exactly how I remembered it. And I got to say this too: major props to my son. I came in there, and I thought I had a pretty decent first game. My son came over. He was just playing the Dialed In right next to me. He comes over, sets up his little stool, and again, he's like 2.5 years old. And he just waxes me. Like, I'm not even kidding. He destroyed me. I was like, holy crap, The only bad thing about 2-year-olds and playing pinball is that they have the attention span of a 2-year-old. So, like, he played a couple games where there was a medieval madness there, where he destroyed like 2 castles, which he's 2.5. It was awesome to watch him play. And then like after a few games, his attention span just goes to crap. So like, which when people say you have the attention span of a 2-year-old,
do they
totally
mean it?
does. Yeah, well, there's such a thing to that. So, anyway, Total Nuclear Annihilation was awesome, but I like what I got right now. I don't think I need one, just yet. Down the road, I'd love to own one to really get to dive into it, but it was so awesome. Like, I'll go and play it at friend's house. I know a couple people that actually have them in here. Iron Maiden, this is the one that everybody's been flipping out about. And you can give me your thoughts on this too. Definitely participate in this, but on the forums and stuff, everybody's like, who's Stern gonna, their announcement's coming today. And of course, Stern drags their feet all freaking day at the and everybody's like, it's going to be Iron Maiden. And people have been talking about this for years. And it's kind of one of those things where I'm just like, I don't want to hear about it, stop.
Yeah.
Who cares? Look, I will say this. I will qualify myself at least. When I was a teenager, I loved Iron Maiden. I know every Iron Maiden song. I know every song that's on this pinball machine, okay? I was a Maiden fan at one time. And I still I like the music, I can listen to it and be like, yeah, I like this. I don't dislike them. But, and of course, with the artwork on the albums, it just kind of makes sense as far as that goes. But I didn't get all this hype around we got to have an Iron Maiden pinball. We got to have an Iron Maiden pinball. I'm like, surely there are some more relevant music bands around now, or maybe there isn't. Actually, there's probably not.
Yeah, there's probably not, because I think part of this is me saying where's Motley Crue, but quite honestly, there's probably just as many people saying give me Maiden as give me Motley Crue, and the people on the Maiden side of things would probably be having the same conversation had a Motley Crue one got announced.
I will tell you this though, now that actually Iron Maiden, because I do think Stern does pay attention to Pinside, and when these people are clamoring for it, I think they do get some of the ideas, to pick up Scott Elwin too in his design Keith Elwin from his Archer pinball. They pay attention to Pinside. They know, they monitor Pinside. They definitely keep an eye on it. But to think, I guess they got the okay, well, let's do that. But I will say this, now that I've seen that they actually came through with the Iron Maiden, I'm 100% sure that it's just a matter of years that they'll have your Motley Crue pinball. So get ready to spend $9,000 on your LE model of that.
I'm not ready for that, but I'm going to do it. We know that.
They do one music pinball every year, and if they did a Maiden pinball this year, they're going to do a Motley Crue pinball at some point, because the artwork's there. People like the music, that like pinball probably as well. And I don't know. It just, now that this is actually, I didn't actually believe they would ever come out with an Iron Maiden, but they did. So they're, and honestly, before I didn't think they'd come out with a Motley Crue one, but now I'm thinking they probably would. And people have been clamoring about that yeah, you'll totally buy it. But I will say this. So back to my story about going to Portal Pinball. I got to I sit down and play a Maiden, and I got to say, the layout is awesome. There are a lot of shots where I'm like, what is this? It's just a fresh take on a lot of things. Because look, you look at a lot of pinballs and you see left orbit shot, right orbit shot, center shot, blah, blah, blah. They're kind of redundant, some of the shots. This was a lot of these shots were totally, totally different. It was really a fresh take on... The layout was really a fresh take, and the artwork aesthetically it looked awesome. They got who was the guy that did the artwork? Oh yeah, Zombie Yeti, the same guy that did Ghostbusters. So they did it right aesthetically, and the layout of the pinball is awesome. And if you like Iron Maiden, then the music is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But there's just something about Stern, and I hate to I don't know. They're I kind of relate this back to what you're talking about with Nintendo, about being the darlings of whatever. And look, I get it. I have an appreciation for Stern because they were the last one standing, after Williams Bally closed their doors. Stern kind of picked up the mantle, and even though, look, there was a lot of turds in their, repertoire, up to this point, they've created some interesting machines, but I do have respect for them in that case. But I don't like the business decisions where they, for example, the back boxes are aluminum instead of wood now. So yeah, they're lighter, they're lighter. They're like way lighter. I think they're like 250 pounds now, which is super light. But look, and I know some people are gonna just, I don't know, get pissed off about this, but I don't really care.
You know what, Mitch? No, people won't get pissed off because much like Stern and Nintendo, we're the darlings of video game podcasts.
Oh yeah, well clearly we are. So maybe. Yep.
We're in the clear. Don't worry about it.
Totally, I'm not worried about it. But anyways, I know a lot of people share my decision or my view on this, but you know, I know there are a lot of people who disagree with it as well. Like when you look, I almost tilted every Stern that I played like immediately because they're so freaking light, you know. And to me, that seems like that just to my brain, and maybe I'm wrong. It just translates as cheap, you know. Mm-hmm. Like when you look at like my Star Trek: The Next Generation or Tales of the Arabian Nights, those things are the heaviest games I've ever even heard of, you know.
Right.
Like I almost died just transporting the things from my garage into my basement. You know, I felt like I had probably had a hernia or two just moving those things, and they're significant. And there's something for me, at least, the experience of playing something like that. I'm like, this is a solid machine, you know, like they spared no expense at this. But when I look at Stern and I see like stuff like, well, it's cheaper to put aluminum back boxes on there. And then they raise their freaking price every single year by $100 at least.
It's like the Fender of pinball machines.
I don't even know if I would say that. I don't even know if I get that reference yet. Maybe Gibson.
Well, Gibson did it too, but yeah, actually Gibson's a better comparison. Yes.
So anyway, I'm just, I don't know. There are certain things like they don't screen print the playfields anymore. They just do like as far as I understand, I'm pretty sure I'm right about this. It's like a decal essentially. A lot of like for the longest time, you know, Game of Thrones and all those, it looked like a photoshopped, you know, picture that they essentially, it's like a decal or something that they put on for the playfield and then they just clear coat over it. Like you don't even go through of course that saves money. And I understand for a while, you know, when pinball was down, you guys did what you had to do, right? But just stuff like that is just cheap, man. I don't want like a decaled playfield. Like I just don't. I really don't, you know?
Yeah, that just feels just like it's built.
Cheap.
Yeah, it just feels janky. Like what? That feels like something I'd do.
It just feels like something I hate that it seems to me and that they are still very focused on the bottom line. And I get that as a business, you have to be to some extent, but you also want to be like synonymous with quality, I would think. But there's like a resurgence of it's basically like a renaissance of pinball interest and enthusiasm right now.
Oh yeah, it's all over the place too. I've actually listened to a ton of podcasts that are like literally talking pinball on a daily basis on like modern, like Giant Bomb and some other podcast where I'm like seeing that and just like, holy shit, this thing's it's really taken off again.
It is, and I'll say this too. Stern's belief, at least from what I understand, is that I don't know. Maybe I'm putting words in their mouth, but they've licensed everything for the last I don't know how many years. And I don't like licenses. Like I'm tired of licenses where it's like original ideas would go a long ways, you know? Like original themes, you know what I'm saying? Like instead of licensing like Iron Maiden, Ghostbusters, even if it's a good license. I thought Ghostbusters was a good license. And
but it's like they have an opportunity now to kind of like before that was kind of a crutch to generate interest, but now they're kind of out behind the curtain a little bit where you could put some new ideas in front of people, and I think a lot of people would eat it up.
I think a lot of people would, and their thought is like, okay, when people go out and they're not going to play something if they don't see a theme that they're familiar with or whatever, or if they see like, you know, Whirlwind, for example, it's an original theme. It's about a natural disaster. Theme doesn't matter. If it's like I'm in the camp that says the theme doesn't matter. Like, look, I have a Congo pinball. The movie was garbage, but the game is awesome. You know, like, it doesn't matter. Theme doesn't matter. Theme shouldn't matter, rather, or doesn't matter. I'm not sure which one is which, but you can go out on the limb every once in a while and come up with an original idea. So I thought Iron Maiden was really cool. an original. And I do like that they do the LCDs now instead of the dot matrix displays, but it seems like they charge a premium for them now because like that being a part of it, when a lot of times, especially in some of the, they've only had maybe, 4 machines out since they've gotten the DMD displays. And to me, a lot of the animations could be better, like in Aerosmith in particular. It reminds me, remember Shockwave Flash when that was a thing?
Yep.
It reminds me of like Shockwave Flash animations. It's like they don't really look like awesome. Like they could do so much more, and I have a perfect, apples to apples comparison as far as the way that I don't know. Anyway, Stern, I feel like the greed is just, it always puts a damper on it for me a little bit. And I hate to say that, but like I feel like I'm being truthful on it, and I think if I was a huge Stern fan where I was like, I only like Sterns, and there are a lot of people like that, and I respect that because look, I've had fun. Even the new Star Wars Stern that's come out, I really had a pretty fun time playing. But I get it. But also there'd be, if I was a real Stern fanboy, let's just say fanboy because I don't have any other better term for it, I would still have that little damper where it's like, quality means a lot to me, as a collector. And I feel really shitty about paying over $5,000 for like a base model of just a, poorly constructed game. I don't know. I would say poorly constructed.
And then they're like, but give us another $3,000 and it will be slightly better constructed.
Yeah, but that actually comes up with an interesting point. Yeah, I mean,
like it's a lot of money to ask for something that it feels like there was concessions and corners cut every step of the way, and then to maybe take that same business model up to even the premiums and LEs. Is that kind of where you're going?
Even the premiums and LEs don't seem that solid to me. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I'm just used to. Maybe I'm just used to what I'm used to, and I'm just like resistant to change or something. Like that's possible. I get that. I will accept that if somebody accuses me of that. But I can't trust them. I don't trust them. Let's put it that way. I don't trust them to. They have such a perfect opportunity with Iron Maiden, at least, where they did aesthetically. It's beautiful. It's really, really nice, and the layout is really unique and it's really cool. They, Keith Elwin, they, hired him to build this thing, design it basically, and they still cheap out. I'm like, come on, what happened to screen printing playfields? You guys did it for years, and I'm not even gonna look. There's this big debate about like, do Sterns dimple more? Basically when the ball runs over it, there's like, after a while, after a certain amount of plays, you start to see a lot of dimples in the playfield and whatever. And some people say, all playfields are like that. I'm in the camp where I don't even care. That doesn't bother me, but a lot of people are bothered by that, where it's like, is it cheaper wood? And they're like, no, it's not cheaper wood. Well, are the trees younger that they're using for those now? No. Okay. Are they just better lit? So maybe that's it. I don't know. I don't even care about that. That's not even where I'm going with this, but like, I don't know. I just don't trust them. I feel like there's always something that I'm going to miss, that they're going to fuck up. Like with the green, like Ghostbusters, and for a while there, especially when Ghostbusters came out, there were a lot of issues with ghosting, which is, the clear coat separating from the playfield, essentially. And there were a lot of people that, pretty much everybody from the early runs, that had to send their playfield back to Stern, and they sent them a new playfield. They had issues. They still have issues with their cabinets, like cracking on the seams. And it's like, dude, that's
mind-boggling. That's
like melamine or some shit.
That's unacceptable. That's unacceptable. Like at the price, and especially like that. Just
you can't.
That's not good for your reputation at all. But I mean, they're kind of the only player in the game in a lot of instances at this point.
Not anymore. Oh. That's my gripe.
Yeah,
I get it. For a while there, you had to like stay afloat, and I'm sure, I've read. Their bottom line wasn't that great, for the longest time. But I think it's probably in good shape right now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like, okay, with that, can you maybe do some QC quality control, a little bit of more quality control on that? So I want to basically, I want to compare that to Dialed In, which is a Jersey Jack game. So right now, I mean, there are a lot of like fuck up companies out there too, like smaller boutique companies like Highway Pinball. There's a big fiasco with them. I can't remember the one with John Papadoe, but there was a lot of just, I don't know, craziness. But, the main ones right now are Stern, Jersey Jack, and Spooky Pinball. And and clearly Stern is the biggest of them all. But Jersey Jack really, emphasizes quality. And, they've got, like, on their better models, they've got, like, Invisiglass. Like, you can tell that nothing was skimped on this. They've got, like, the LCD. They were the first ones, to my knowledge at least, that had the LCD back glass. And they're beautiful animations, and they're really well put together and really well thought out. They really build a solid machine. That's another one where you can pick up the front and just be like, holy shit, this thing has some heft to it. It feels like I'm... But then there's the other side of that where they're base model $8,000. You're going to spend $8,000 to $9,000 on a Jersey Jack pinball machine, but you're going to spend a lot of money on a premium Stern as well, or an LE. You're going to spend about the same amount, and I feel like the craftsmanship is definitely there with Jersey Jack. And I don't know, maybe people will think you're ridiculous by saying that, but like Jersey Jack had the balls with their third machine, which was Dialed In, to come up with an original theme. And it's cool because Pat Lawler, at one point I had 4 Pat Lawler machines. That's who did like Funhouse, Whirlwind, Earthshaker, Addams Family, Twilight Zone. He's a great designer and like a legendary designer. And just side note on this, one of my buddies went to like the Free Play Florida Expo, and Jersey Jack was there, and he had described his meeting with Pat Lawler, and it was something like, when they were going to discuss what the theme was. And like Jersey Jack said that like Pat Lawler was like discussing, his ideas, and Jersey Jack had kind of zoned out. He wasn't even paying attention, and he was like, oh, yeah, let's go back to the first one. Can you tell me about that one again or whatever? So essentially he like chose it when he zoned out when Pat Lawler was like pitching these ideas to him. It was but anyways, it's a solid machine. I think I got enough play out of it where I don't feel like, before I felt like I'm like, that's a must have for me. Even though it's like an $8,000 machine, I got to have it. I think being able to, kind of get to play it for a while there, I think I'm good right now. It's a good game. I just think what I have right now is what I want. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. No, for sure. That's why I was a little worried earlier when you mentioned you went to a pinball arcade, and I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah, it's tough, man. I'm not even going to probably go into some of the stories on. I'll save some of these stories for other podcasts, but this was kind of now, and it happened yesterday, so I thought it was pretty cool. Yeah,
it's funny because to your story, like literally, I'm not even joking, it was like once every 2 weeks or something, like once a month, like, yeah, did I tell you about the new pinball? And I'm like, oh yeah, the X, the X1 or whatever. No, different one. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, in my house you're talking about?
Yeah. I know. So that's why when you're like, yeah, I went to a pinball arcade, I was like, oh boy, Mitch came home with another one.
You'd think, but actually, yeah, I'll save these stories for a different day. But yes, you were probably like, oh my god, what's he getting next? No, I feel like my collection right now is super, super strong, and it's everything I love to play. And I'm happy with everything I got right now. And something may go in the works near the expo, but I'll save that for another day. But couple notes on Portal. I thought it was funny. My wife was slightly jokingly perturbed. She was playing Dialed In, and my wife is great at pinball. Like, she's better than I am, like, for sure. I always joke that like every time I get a new machine, she goes down there like. This is going to sound bad, but I don't mean it like you think I'm going to mean it. But she goes down there, and you know how like a dog always marks its territory by pissing on it?
Oh, yeah.
So what my wife always does, puts the high score on there. And I'm like, shit, how did you do that? So I always joke about that because she's got the high scores on, at least half of the machines down there that I'm never even going to touch, And so anyway, she's playing Dialed In, and she has like her second game ever, and she gets like second place. And the guy comes over that was at the I don't know who the guy was, to be honest, but he had come over and he was like, no, actually she's like, oh yeah, I feel like I sucked on that, but I got second place. Because Dialed In is a really low-scoring game. Like, the scores are very low on it. And he was like, no. He's like, you know what? For somebody that doesn't play pinball much, he's like, that was a really good score. And she's like,
oh, no, I play pinball a lot. Hold up.
She's like, hold on a second. Like, she's like, no, I play pinball all the time. That's why I said I felt like I sucked on this. And, and this is what my score was. Because it was like, it's not like a billion points like on like Star Trek Next Generation, for example. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't know why I assumed that or whatever. And she starts like listing off all the games that we've got, and he's like, oh man, he's like, or whatever. But it was kind of like, it was kind of a funny situation where she was like, no,
Funny.
So, like, I don't even know why you assume that I don't play. It's clearly, like, there's only one reason for that,
Yeah.
But also, another funny note, I sent you the picture. My son, his favorite one of his favorite pinballs, he kept going back to me. He kept going, what's this thing? What's this one? Is a hard body, Bally hard body.
Oh, yeah, you sent me the picture. That was hilarious.
Which is actually a really good game. It's just the theme is ridiculous. But Johnny just kept going back and bringing his little stool up and playing that game. So I'm not buying a hard body for Johnny, but
you sure?
Yeah, I don't think so. But it's got little sections on there where it's like, work on your abs, work on your legs, your glutes, or whatever. But it's got like a bodybuilder chick in a bikini or whatever on the back glass, which is hilarious.
Yeah, it's fun.
So he's like, kept going, what's this one? So anyway, that's my story on that. But major props to Portal for having a location. I had a blast, man. Like I kind of bitched about the pricing at the beginning. It's reasonable. It just sucks when you got like 3 people to have to pay for it.
Well, right, like that's kind of the thing, right? It's like if I went with Carrie, we're on kind of a single income right now, and so you just go like, well, that actually cost me $45 instead of $15.
Yeah, totally. So. But it's cool. Major props to them for actually like coming up with There's a place in Brunswick, Georgia, as well, Palace Pinball or something like that. That also is new, and I like the fact that everybody's creating places to play because it's fun. I don't mind dollar play at my parents' basement either. Like the games, KG, like they're all modded just to the hilt. Like they're just completely like modded out, beautiful machines. He does a really nice job taking care of them. I don't mind paying $1 a play. I mean, it's fine, like I don't suck. So it's not like it's going to take me like 10 minutes to blow through $15,
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's just fun. It's fun. It's cool that we got a couple places that we can play like the latest and greatest, just what everybody's talking about. Everybody's talking about Iron Maiden right now. Before it was Total Nuclear Annihilation, and before that it was Dialed In. So I really got some good time on all 3 of those, not to mention a bunch of other stuff. But I thought that was really cool. I think that's really cool. There's also, just a side note, it's really interesting. There's a guy that is doing a Kickstarter for like a pinball museum in Atlanta, but he's looking for like $250,000, and I think last time I checked, he had like 50 days to go or something, and he was at like 3,000. So I don't know the guy, but that doesn't mean that he's not like part of the community or whatever. It just may have never run into him, but I wish him luck as long as he's not like what I was talking about before. It's just somebody to trying to cash grab on a trend. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's plenty of them around. I mean, especially in games.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, yeah, very pinball centric, all this stuff, but that's what went on, and I thought that was pretty interesting. That and I thought like too, I think there are a lot of people who definitely consider Stern like the can do no wrong, and there are definitely a lot of fanboys that I don't know, fanboys for Stern that will defend everything they do, and that's okay. I get that, but I'm definitely not one of those people.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I feel you.
Yeah. Do you?
Yeah, I do.
Awesome.
I relate. I relate in the Nintendo comparison, but I don't know. I don't know enough about it, but I know that I want a Motley Crue pin.
You know what? And like I said, with the Iron Maiden that came out, if they did a theme like, not to say that Iron Maiden is a garbage theme, because it's not a garbage theme. They have a lot of like, for what would make a great pinball, you know, in hindsight especially, I'm like, you know what? They got the goods on that. I bet you, Stern, at some point, I bet you within the next couple of years, Motley Crue will be up there. So I wouldn't put it past.
Yeah.
So anyway,
and then my wallet will be very pissed.
Yeah, I'm sure you got some time, and I wouldn't worry too much about it. But anyways, I was thinking about it this weekend too, and I was thinking about everything that I've acquired, and I've still been kind of hinting at this for the last couple of weeks, and I don't want to get into it today because we're, you know, about where I want to be.
Yeah.
But personally, I've got a lot of awesome stories about everything that just nothing ever happens easily, and nothing ever is like without an event, you know, like. Everything's just crazy, you know, always. And that's just the way shit goes. But I've got a lot of good stories about all that kind of stuff. And I don't know. We'll get into that next time. But I don't know, man. Do you have anything else you wanted to talk about today?
No, I don't have anything else this week. Pretty slow week for the most part for me.
Yeah, it was kind of an eventful week for me. I had a good time. Like, I really enjoyed Portal. And I really enjoy the scene that's kind of developing around here in Atlanta. It's actually pretty exciting. And, you know, if the Pinball Museum works out, then awesome. I'm all for that, too. But it's kind of an interesting time period for pinball. There's really a renaissance. Like I said, there are all these, I don't know if I'd call them boutique companies. Boutique. But anyway, there are a lot of, you know, interesting Deep Root Pinball is another one. There are a lot of interesting happenings in that world, and that's kind of where my brain is at. If you haven't figured that out by now, that's kind of where my brain has been at. But yeah, that's really all I got for this week too. I could talk more shit. Look, I could talk for like 3 hours on pinball, but I'm not gonna. Not today. We'll save it for future podcasts because a lot of stuff has happened in the last year. That's crazy, isn't it? Like, I'm sure you'll think of more stuff too that you're like, damn, this has happened and this has happened and this has happened, because I know for a fact, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, but that's all I got for this weekend too. So
right on.
So for RetroGameFix.com, the Retro Jones podcast number 114. This is Mitch
and this is Mike,
and we'll see you next week.
See ya.